Here we are on the couch with Wayne Neal from Business Energetics. Wayne, welcome. You're here with probably a non-traditional medical topic,
Yes.
but really based on science, talking about heart math. Do you want to explain what heart math is all about?
Heart Math is a research organisation that was established in 1991. And what they wanted to do is they wanted to explore how the heart plays in terms of our optimal functioning and how we function as human beings. And through the research of Heart Math Institute, there's been hundreds of papers written. Neurocardiology as a science was established in the 1990s. Information like the heart's a hormone-producing gland. But what Heart Math have done is they've done the research and they've applied it in the field. For example, 34,000 police officers in Holland use Heart Math to learn to manage emotional regulation, post-traumatic stress disorder, learning to build their resilience up by using the Heart Math tools as a practice to monitor their success as they do their breathing techniques that we teach.
So really what they're looking at doing is learning how to change the state that they're in to a different state, so therefore affecting their health overall.
Exactly. So when we're in a stress state, the body doesn't know whether it's a life-threatening situation or just natural stress that we're experiencing today. So physically, our body does different things. So when we're in a stress state, basically the body, the blood vessels in the body send the blood, tighten up, restrict, send the blood to the outer extremes of the body for fight-flight, which also reduces our ability to think clearly and all that sort of thing, because the blood going to the prefrontal cortex is reduced as well. So if you've ever been in an argument with somebody and you've said something you regret, or you've said something and you don't remember saying it, it's because basically you're so emotionally charged about that discussion that your brain isn't clearly functioning. So Heart Math is teaching people how to shift out of those stress states into a calm and appreciative state.
So here we have the book that details the science behind the Heart Math research.
Yes. Okay. Heart Math have been researching this information since 1991. This book here is a culmination of all the scientific research that they've done over that period relative to the teaching that we do through our workshops and one-on-one coaching and mentoring. It's available on the heartmath.org website, and it's a free download. You can get a PDF version or you can purchase these things online.
So one of the concepts you talk about is heart rate variability.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain that a little bit more?
Okay, when I went to a doctor and I had my pulse checked and I was told I had 60 beats per minute, I believed that was 1 beat every second. That's not the case. Our heart rate varies from pulse to pulse, and what we do is we plot the variance of that pulse from one to the next in terms of beats per minute. And when we look at the device later, you'll see as we breathe in, naturally our sympathetic is going on and our heart rate goes up a little bit. As we breathe out, it goes down and the parasympathetic nervous system takes over. As we breathe in, our sympathetic is increasing. So we're measuring that activity. And then through measuring that activity, we can identify if a person's in a positive emotional state or a coherent state where the heart and brain are in coherence and working and functioning at their optimum level. In sports, you call it that zone, getting into the zone. If we're not, if we're in stress or anxiety, then in that situation we get an incoherent communication channel going through from the heart to the brain. It gets hijacked by the amygdala and we go into fight-flight. So then we get that constriction of the blood vessels and we become less flexible. Our memory weakens, our ability to problem solve, all these sorts of functions diminish.
So here we are putting on the feedback monitor. So this is just just reading my heartbeat on my ear, and this here is connecting to a feedback monitor which is showing the graph. Is that correct?
Correct, yes. Once we turn this thing on, it picks up your pulse. So you've got your pulse meter here. So it picks up your pulse, it's calibrating, picks up your pulse, and then it starts plotting the time between each of these peaks in beats per minute. So in a moment it'll come on, and then over here we've got these scales: low coherence, medium coherence and high coherence. Down here we've got the actual number of indicators going on down here. So our goal in terms of building resilience levels is to achieve 300 points per day, and that will actually increase your heart rate flexibility, plus also your level of resilience. So little things that might trigger you emotionally will start to dissipate. The energy around those things will be less, so you won't be so reactive. You become more responsive. And of course that leads to better quality relationships. But it can be applied to any area of life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Navy SEALs, US Navy SEALs use it. Veterans are using it. Doctors and nurses are using it throughout America. There's over 25,000 medical professionals recommending HeartMath to their clients. It's huge. In Europe it's massive. One of Europe's leading cardiologists, a guy called Dr. Dorian Dugmore, he uses this technology, and he used one of the tests we do. We put Holter monitors on people, and we trial them with it. And what Dorian did is he put couples together in a car in a town that they didn't know, gave them a map, and got them to say, you've got to get at point B by 30 minutes. And they had them on 24-hour Holter machines, measuring their heart rate variability.
Oh, I can imagine the stress levels.
What happened was, after the event, there's a bit of discussion going on, as you can imagine. Women took 2 hours to normalise. Men took, on average, 6.
Wow.
And this is pretty typical. When we did the research with the American police, we had them do a domestic violence scenario training. So we had the ECGs on them. This is just a training program, right? And in those situations, an average sort of result was heartbeat, resting heartbeat 70, enters into the room where the situation's occurring, jumps up to 140, actually engaging with the suspect up to 190. Then once they've arrested them, handcuffed them, they settle back down again. But those don't normalise. It took, on average, the best performers were normalising in an hour and a half. The worst case, 6 hours.
So I imagine that the response that people are, the reactions that I'd normally have if their heartbeat was 80, but if your heart rate and you were so wound up, underneath it all, the decisions that they're making be quite different as well.
Totally. And this is why the police are really looking at this very closely and overseas. The whole Dutch police force has been trained with HeartMath over a number of years. So the whole police force is trained this way. Because what they recognise, and when we saw it on TV last year, that police officer pulled over a guy for a busted tail light. The police officer is just constantly stressed. He comes out of his vehicle stressed, very aggressive in his approach to the guy. The guy panicked and ran off, and the police officer popped him 7 times or so in the back with a gun, killed him. That's not a natural response. The police officer is in such a state of stress, his cortical functioning had been switched off. He was in fight, flight, in fear, and he killed the guy. And this is happening all the time over in America. So they're now starting to realise we need to teach people how to regulate our emotions so we can function at an optimal level.
So how am I doing here?
You're doing, at the moment, you've got your scores are 41, 27, 32, and it varies moment to moment. But as we shift from low to medium to high, you're now in a high coherent state, so that's good. So now your heart and your brain are in synchronicity, or what we call coherence. And what we want to do is we want to be able to sustain that coherent level during the day. That's the goal. And we teach people to build their baseline by just establishing a 5 minutes a day. If you can do this for 5 minutes a day and build up to 300 points in the scale here, then you're actually increasing your baseline. And what does that mean for you? It means that you're going to be able to function and think more clearly. Your memory will improve as a natural result of better coherence. Things that might trigger you, like Auckland traffic, for example, you won't get so triggered by it, so you won't get that emotional charge. And what we teach is we teach the connect between what's happening from an emotion to the physical response the body does. And when you start to realise when we're in any form of stress or negative emotion, we're producing cortisol.
So obviously not a great lot wandering around with this attached to your ear the whole time, so how do people get the feedback normally?
How they get the feedback normally? Well, you know, we use the technology to help people train themselves. So it's a feedback mechanism.
Yes, okay. So
biofeedback technology.
Yeah, sure.
But during the course of the day, if you're in a business meeting, for example, and you're really anxious about this meeting, your heart rate's already up, your sympathetic nervous system's up, you're feeling anxiety, and you really want to be, you've got some real issues going on in this meeting, so you want to be at your best performance. So what we do is we teach you how to shift and reset and prepare for the meeting, so you can actually get yourself into a coherent state prior to the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting. So we don't have to go away for 20 minutes and meditate. We can use this on the go in the moment where you become aware of your emotional charge. So, and all it is simple breathing techniques. There's 6 of them in total, but each one does a different function. The very basic one is just called heart-focused breathing, and that's where we breathe in deeply to a count of 5 if you can, and out for 5 without forcing it. And breathe in like you're smelling a flower or a nice fresh coffee. Just breathing in just that little bit deeper than normal. And as we do that, and if we can bring in an emotion of calmness or appreciation at the same time and feel what that feels like in your body, you'll notice that your body starts releasing, your muscles start relaxing. And what's actually happening is the heart is now coming into synchronicity with the lungs, the breathing, and that's also bringing an autonomic nervous system into coherence. So that simple breathing technique, while you're having a conversation, you can just drop into that breathing while you're in the conversation, and that will bring you into coherence, so you can function at a higher level.
And this is a learned thing, so the more you practice, the better you are, the more response you get. Okay.
So things that might trigger you now may no longer trigger you in a few months' time. And it's been incredible, the response that you see. There's a great video on YouTube by the Dutch police. And in there's a police officer, he's about 58, I'm guessing. It's certainly in the sort of 58 to 60 sort of age group, I think, on blood pressure tablets. And his passion is diving. He's not allowed to dive because of his blood pressure. After 6 months of using HeartMath, he's off his medication and he's back diving. Another woman, a police officer, she talks about doing the HeartMath. She hasn't changed her exercise or her diet at all. And in the time frame that she's been on the HeartMath program, she's lost 3 kilos of weight. Because when we're in stress, our body goes fight-flight. It also stores fat. So by the fact that she's actually being able to regulate and shift out of a stress state much more effectively, her body is not in that fight moment mechanism as often. So she's actually losing weight just by using these exercises. It's phenomenal. Once we get the knowledge and we understand what's going on, and simple breathing techniques solve a lot of our challenges in life.
So when you're talking to GPs today about this, what is the ideal patient mix that people could be using this HeartMath for?
Any patient, quite honestly. Disease comes from dis-ease. If we can create more ease in the body, then we're going to eliminate disease. Heart rate variability is age-related, so we can see, for doctors, by looking at this information, they can see all-cause mortality through heart rate variability. So if, for example, if you're a 15-year-old or 20-year-old child, and you're stressed and you've seen the doctor because you've got stress issues going on in your life, and he looks at her variability and let's say it's only 8 or 9, whereas at that age it's probably better to be sort of 15 to 20, then he knows that there's likelihood that she's going to suffer all-cause mortality unless she learns some coping mechanisms.
So this is bringing things right back to early stages, so catching things before disease happens.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So all-cause mortality, things like strokes, heart attacks, type 1 and 2 diabetes, hypertension, cancers, all those things can be predicted by the behaviour, the relationship of HRV. And there's a tremendous amount of research online about this stuff, so people can learn more about it.
So if GPs wanted to refer more to get more information, how do they go about it?
Well, ideally they'd contact me.
Yes, sure, of course.
But short of that, if they want to go directly to HeartMath, they're more than welcome to, because there's a heartmath.org website, and there's a huge amount of resources available for them.
Okay.
There is a doctor in Auckland, Dr. Mimi Irwin, who is fully trained coach, heart math coach mentor. She does a little bit of that through her practice and has had great success. She's been working with heart math for about 13 years. I'm a trainer, so I have license to sell their technology and books and other resources, and also run public training. So I've been working in the corporates and military and education too. Some fantastic education programs.
Right. Wayne, thank you very much for your time, and
Thank you.
good luck this afternoon.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
That's great.